Alright guys, we're back on the Grand Cherokee CRD, which I'm now calling the Diesel Daily Project. I'm just super excited about how little money I've had to spend on it so far, so fingers crossed we'll keep that trend going. So Diesel Daily is getting a water pump today. Rock Auto was awesome. These parts came 3 days early based on the tracking. They were supposed to be here Wednesday and they showed up on Sunday. So I got my water pump. I also have a tail light. I have a headlight coming from Rock Auto soon. That might be here tomorrow, but we're having a snowstorm right now, so who knows. Got some coolant, and theoretically this should be an easy job. The only thing that's hard about it is where it is. So I'm gonna take this plastic panel out. I think it'll just make it a little nicer to see. Maybe even pop some of those water pump bolts from the bottom. I don't know. Everything I've seen online with either a Sprinter or a Mercedes sedan, I haven't seen one of these done. They've done it from the top. There's a lot of stuff in the way on the top. I'll show you that in a second. But first things first, we're gonna pop these and then see what sort of room we have to work with. All right guys, so we popped that off, and things that we know is that we have a coolant leak. The oil leak is gone. I simply tightened the drain plug. The coolant leak is coming from this, which somebody's replaced and looks like just wasn't tight enough. Low radiator hose. That's got to come off anyway to drain the system. You do see there's definitely a new belt tensioner on there. That's probably what some mechanic tried to repair first to get rid of the howl before my buddy found out it was the water pump. So the water pump is the one with the nub sticking out right there. So you see the bypass hose going into the thermostat housing. Right above it there's an idler, and right above that, slightly to the left, there is the water pump. It is pretty well buried. So we do need to take the turbo inlet pipe off up there, which is your throttle body assembly essentially, and possibly that EGR tube, which would be a bummer. Those are E10s. Luckily it looks like it's screwed into plastic, so it should come off. And possibly this bypass pipe on the thermostat. And then I think we just release the tension and we should have enough clearance to get it out, but it is something we're gonna have to take those pieces off from the top. So let's lower her down and get in there. All right, quick update, guys. It's down, and I've determined what I need to take off. So we have to remove what I believe is the glow plug controller. Not sure what this is, but glow plug controller's here. That's going to come off. I've already loosened the AC lines. I may have to take off the E-fan, so I've taken off the upper radiator hose already. I've loosened the power steering reservoir. So I'll need to unscrew all the 10 mils that hold the E-fan on, which also hold this AC in place. Then I'll be taking the throttle body off, and I think I can leave the EGR tube, and then I'll have access in here to get to that. So we'll keep chugging away at it. Progress report. Way more has to come off than I had hoped for. I kind of figured, but yeah. So anyway, we have the upper radiator hose off. We have the turbo to intercooler boost pipe off. We have the turbo muffler off, dangling down there. We have the inlet to the throttle body off. We have the air box out. We have bypass tubes off in 2 different locations. Yeah, what else? It's just wild how buried it is. Basically, this entire piece right here needs to come off. So all those electrical connectors and whatever. I took out 3 bolts down on this adapter pipe that I probably didn't need to. I'm not sure yet. So we're going to take off these ones next. Hopefully this whole piece will lift away. Also these 3 EGR, those need to come off as well. They're all E10s. I'm hoping these ones that I didn't need to take off is true, because there's one T25 or whatever. It might be smaller than that. I can't remember. But it's really tiny torques. Might even be a T5. I can't remember. But that appears to be stripped before I even touched it. So hopefully this piece right here, this plastic, aluminum backed plastic, can stay as one, hopefully. And I can get this thing off. So on we go. Crazy. Update. We have breached. We've gotten to the water pump. Unbelievable. But let me show you what we're talking about. All right, so here's what it looks like with a bunch of things removed. So, you know, pretty generic belt drive. That's the water pump, okay? So from here forward, knock on wood, that should not be too difficult to take out. But we had to remove all of those. So starting from the top, upper radiator hose, the left and right there are the intakes, okay? And then the bottom one is the EGR. And this was the tube in question, which, as far as I'm concerned, is ridiculously over-engineered. Like, not even in any sort of good way at all. This is the stupidest and most complex design simply for space saving. I'm, you know, pretty annoyed by that. That's the EGR pipe. These are notorious for sooting up, as you can see there. It's pretty clogged. And that issue, so the EGR is part 1, and the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation, is part 2 of why these engines have any issues at all. Otherwise, perfectly good engine. Those 2 systems, you put too much exhaust gases back in, and you put a bunch of extra oil from the PCV, and you just get all of this soot. Now, I stuck my finger in there, and for whatever reason, the left side is gooey, and the right side's quite hard. But at the end of the day, really, I don't care. You know, so long story short, these emission systems, specifically the EGR, they do good for the environment. Yeah, I get that. But that mixed with a DPF, mixed with a PCV, it's too much. It's not really necessary. In my opinion, we should just change the fuel. Biodiesel has far less soot content in it. It runs really clean. And that would be step 1. Petroleum diesel is really nasty. So anyway, rant over. Let's get the belt off and finally get this water pump out. On we go. It's probably hard to hear. I know the heat's on, but I'm sick of turning it on and off. This water pump is definitely junk. So that's the majority of the noise coming from the front. So that's no good. So that's that. Unfortunately, and I didn't order these, I probably should have, These are both noisy. Not terrible, but they're noisy. So I should really do those. So I'm gonna see right now about availability on those. Just more stuff adding to the pile. Check it out. New water pump is installed. And I'm sure the astute of you will notice that glob. Frankly, I don't know what that is. We have this globular stuff coming out of the coolant slowly, which is a bummer. I mean, that's the coolant. It's not all oiled up. I have no evidence of any sort of oil leaking into the coolant except for this. And it's been slowly coming out of there and whatever. So I'm going to hope that that is just maybe the grease that came out of the old water pump bearing. Hopefully. So I'll show you that now. Where is it? There it is. This thing is toast. Take a listen. It is rocky and it's moving. Tons of play in it. So that was definitely junk. All right, so the new one's in. I want to replace these just because I know how hard this was to get to. So I need to order those. I don't have them. So I'll do that order right now, and then I'm going to move on to cleaning up my hands, and I'll probably do the tail light next because I don't want to take it off the lift to do the door panel to get that mirror off. But yeah, on we go. This is the final update of the day. We are just going to be waiting on a couple of idler pulleys. You can see that they're off right here. New water pump is in. Excellent. I took a moment to put in this tail light, which was very easy, just because the old one was cracked right along the bottom there. And what else is exciting? That's really about it, guys. I can't put anything in the front back together until I have those idlers. They're just too far gone, and this was so hard to take apart. I don't dare put it back together with parts that could fail. So, got to get some new ones. You know, learned a lot, so I think I can put it together a little faster than I took it apart, hopefully. And yeah, so we'll get back on this shortly. So anyway, I've turned off the heat and I'm going to get out of here. I should give a little history though. You know, why diesel daily? I've always had diesel dailies. I guess you guys don't know this about me because I haven't really had diesels on the channel. You saw my Mercedes wagon in the background at the very beginning. But I've just always been a big diesel fan. So I've had Volkswagen Rabbit diesel daily drivers. I've had Mercedes, you know, station wagon, sedan, daily drivers. But why would I bother with Jeep, knowing that they're sort of problematic and whatever? Well, one, the price was exactly right. $500 is unheard of for this thing. Two, yeah, the problems are significant, but they're well documented. Very, very common engine. So there's always a repair or a workaround or somebody with the information on how to make these things work. And 3, I had a Liberty CRD. It was actually the first car I ever got a loan for. That was shortly, actually it was in the middle of college. It was in the middle of my college career. I was going to go be a junior, and I was going to commute from home to school, where for my freshman and sophomore years, I lived on campus. And I was just sick of driving old junkers, and my eyes got the better of me, and I drove by a Liberty that said diesel on it. So I bought that, and we financed it. It had 128K when I bought it. Everything started going wrong at 150K, and I still owed a lot of money on it. So I sold that to get out of the loan. And those were a 4-cylinder V&M diesel. They were not Mercedes. They had a few issues. Mainly, the reason I got out of that was it needed a timing belt, and just the parts for the timing belt were $1,200. And I couldn't believe that, so I was annoyed. Plus, the VNT on the turbo was sticking just because it got rusty. And that was a never-ending battle. So these are actually a much more complex packaging than the Liberty, but the vehicle is way nicer than the Liberty. So I liked the Liberty, it just frustrated me. So that's why this is interesting to me. I do have a little soft spot for these diesel Jeeps, having owned one before. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching Highlandshire, and like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks.